You're listening to Around Comics. 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 You're listening to Around Comics. Welcome back to another episode of Around Comics. It's episode 363. I'm Brian Salazar. With me, as always, is Christopher Niesman. He's excited about baseball. And Thomas Caters. Did you trim your beard, Tom?
Yeah, I trimmed it last week, actually.
Oh,
No one said anything last week.
I didn't notice last week.
Nah.
Oh, well. Well, good to see you, gentlemen. How are you?
Good.
We were just talking about the horrors of Dr. Seuss and Mr. That's not what we're going to talk about tonight.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's going on? Baseball is started. Is everyone excited about?
I've watched two spring training games because it's weird this year. They just kind of stop whenever they want to.
They do.
Today was a 7-inning game, and they're like, "Yeah, we're good."
Baseball's long.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball. It can be. I don't mind the shorter games, but yeah, I don't want it to just end abruptly.
Yeah.
For no reason.
The White Sox. I saw them. They were in like a 5-inning game. They had a big comeback in the top of the fourth.
Andrew Vaughn. Everybody's talking about Andrew Vaughn, their DH, future first baseman someday, but he'll probably be the DH this year. Everybody's talking about his power, his bat. He's got a big bat, another big bat in the lineup, which is good for the Sox.
That's all you got. There's big bats in the lineup.
They got a lot.
It's Around Baseball. How are your Brewers looking, Tom?
I don't know. I think they won the first two spring training games. I pay attention at the beginning, and then I lose track, and then I pay attention at the end.
That's what's great about baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, we are Around Comics, but if anyone has watched this show or listened to this show for any time, baseball would be probably our first love before comics, maybe.
Yeah, for me.
Baseball.
Yeah, growing up.
Yeah. Probably comics. Baseball.
Baseball and comics are probably two of the biggest tent poles of my childhood, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And jazz. The three American jazz, comics, baseball.
Yes. All the American things. It's the only thing Americans have created. Those three things in 100 years.
Yeah, jazz, baseball, and the American comic book.
And toasted ravioli. I think that's purely American.
I think that's an Italian delicacy. I think
that in St. Louis. Yeah. It was definitely invented by an Italian American. I'll tell you that.
I think if you go to Italy, you can definitely get toasted ravioli.
Probably.
In northern Italy, it's
not. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, what have you guys been reading? Anything good?
Wow, incredibly mediocre week.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of great stuff at the stands, but
yeah, I mean,
I read that Daredevil trade that you read. Actually, I read that like 2 weeks ago.
The Chip Zdarsky.
And then I forgot to talk about it. Yeah,
I liked it.
Yeah,
I'm a big Daredevil fan. I actually read that, and then I started on the second volume, which I didn't like as much. Partially because they changed artists, but. Yeah, it was an interesting take on Daredevil. I mean, it's very similar to a lot of Daredevil stories, sort of the Catholic guilt of being.
Yeah. I had enough new. I mean, I guess I'm also not the biggest Daredevil. I mean, I've read Daredevil, but I can't say that, like, if you're like, what's going on in Daredevil now? I have any idea other than, like who Daredevil is. So it's like when he casually mentioned that he was the mayor, I was like, oh,
wait a minute.
Yeah, I kind of like the way that they kind of treated all that stuff and the very comic booky stuff of like
he's been in prison, yet he's been the mayor.
He came back from the dead.
Hell's Kitchen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's sort of
You
like,
wore armor once.
yeah, it's sort of like, oh, okay, yeah. It's like it's a comic book, but
it's Sal. It's your. If you had to pick a big two comic and say that's my comic,
Probably
you followed Daredevil pretty consistently since you were a kid.
Yes, I have. I probably. Well, I mean, I started reading it before 13, 14 probably is when I started reading it, and then I read it all the way up through the Bendis run, and then that's when I kind of fell off a little bit.
Oh, you didn't hang around for Brubaker?
Oh no, you're right. I'm sorry, Brubaker, and then it was after that. So I don't remember who
they did that kind of weird soft handoff.
Yeah, the Somni stuff was. Then I came back and I read when Somni and Wade did it. That was good. But there were. It was sort of like hit or miss. If I didn't like the art, I wouldn't read it. You know, it was like. But yeah, I've read a lot of Daredevil, and this was, you know, it had all the Daredevil things, all the Daredevil elements, but sort of a little bit different, a little different spin on it. I felt like, you know,
it was sort of unsettling because I feel like the first one, Trade doesn't give you like the resolution that you want in a good way.
Yeah.
But, you know, in the sense that it's like,
oh,
you know, all of Daredevil's friends are like, oh yeah, we've all killed people on accident. Yeah, and it's sort of like, wait a second, you know, like he's sort of right where he's like, what are we doing if, like, you know, like,
yeah,
right? Like the idea that occasionally we just accidentally kill people, and it's like, well, that's a little strange. Isn't it? All the dude was doing was robbing a liquor store. Do you deserve the death penalty?
Well, they did say that, like it was an accident. Yeah. It wasn't intentional to kill him. I mean, yeah, it's a weird thing. You know, I'm having not a crisis, but I am having the sort of this different perspective on vigilante superheroes. You know, we talked a lot about the Punisher. And that whole thing, and I read obviously Daredevil. I've been reading for years, but that, you know, 6 issues was dealing with, you know, Matt goes out, he gets out of the hospital, he rehabs after getting hit by a truck essentially, and goes out as Daredevil like early, probably shouldn't. He's not in the best of health. He gets into a fight with a couple of, you know, nobody street thugs, and they almost beat the shit out of him and kill him. And he accidentally kills one of them who had a brain aneurysm. His head hit the concrete. It was an accident. It wasn't intentional. And Daredevil's, you know, never intentionally killed anyone. But the whole 6 issues is dealing with that, you know, idea, that concept of like, you know, are you doing more good or harm? Is this your right to do this? And you throw in all the Catholic parts of Daredevil and the Catholic guilt and his childhood and all those things. And it's this interesting take on sort of vigilante superheroes, and you know, he has a run-in with the, you know, the sort of extreme end of it. He has a run-in with Punisher, and you know, you see the Punisher is like, you know, sort of like, hey, welcome to the club, you're a murderer too, you know.
Yeah, it's about time you figured it out, you know, like
phony, you quit pretending, and you know, and then and then he runs into his friends Luke and Danny and Jessica, and they're like, no, we're not here to take you in, dude, we're here to help you. We've all killed somebody accidentally.
Sort of,
yeah, probably.
And that was a weird thing. And then he runs into Spider-Man, and Spider-Man comes and basically says, no, you're done, this is it. You know, we know it was an accident, but you're out of control. You're not doing things for the right reason. And even Matt, you know, at one point he's like, he's the best of us, and he doesn't even know it. And it's like Spider-Man is sort of that saintly character in Marvel Comics, where like he's, you know, but even he's accidentally. I mean, shit, he killed Gwen accidentally. I mean, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way he set it up was really interesting in that, like, he they keep creating, like, you think you're going to get the moment where it's like, yeah, you're right, I am doing things for the right reason. Yeah. And they kind of tease that out, but they never give that to you, right? It's always like, Matt's like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Is there something
like,
wrong?
Like, he's expecting his friends to take him in because he's like, I should go in, I should be arrested. Like, no one's above the law. Like, I believe that. Like,
yeah, he gets to that point where he's just like, no, I should be, yeah, I should go to jail. I should be tried and face the consequences of these actions because, yeah, this is what I believe in. But I guess when you get too real with comics, when you get sort of too, melding it with the reality of this time and place that we're in, it can take a lot of the fun out of it. I mean, in a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a suspension of disbelief is
to a certain degree.
It's absolutely needed in comics.
I mean, I guess in the case of Daredevil, to me, like, Daredevil always seems like sort of a darker character, where like that sort of like line is always kind of being flirted with, where he's sort of like is this like. He is somebody, right? He's like a superhero who you will see get the shit beat out of him, right? Like, he's like riding that line of like, he's not Superman. He's not even, like, you'll see Spider-Man, but Spider-Man's super strong and like, like
agile and
like Daredevil's getting the crap beat out of him by like 3 dudes robbing a liquor store because they got lucky, right?
Physically, he is no different than like an Olympic gymnast.
There's like this line of like, he sort of skirts that, like, why is he doing this? Like, it seems dangerous.
Or is it for
what are the like, I appreciated the way they sort of set that story up, is they never give you the like resolution of like where Matt feels okay, because that's not who he is. He's not going to feel okay about it once he like comes around.
If he did, he would feel guilty about being okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's sort of, I mean, that is part of that character, is that he's always had guilt about a lot of different things, and always part of it is sort of like, just the dichotomy of you're this, sort of devout Catholic, you dress up like the devil, that inherently is this is a complex character. I think that's why I've always liked Daredevil, because it's like, he wasn't as simple even as like Batman. Like Batman, it's like, well, my parents were killed, I want vengeance against criminals, I dress up as a bat, I go out and that's what I do. Or Superman is just, I'm an alien, godlike creature. I landed on a farm, luckily, and my parents were good people and they taught me truth, justice, and the American way. It's pretty straightforward. And, Daredevil was, to me, just a little more complicated because he always had other relationships that complicated his life, whether it was Elektra, whether it was Foggy, whether even his relationship with Kingpin becomes more and more complex and intricate over the years. And Matt himself is just a very fucked up kind of character. He's not, most writers put him through the ringer, both physically and mentally. It's like they put him through the ringer physically of him getting beat up by villains, that kind of thing, but it's always the mental side that sort of is his flaw, of he's always battling with himself. Like, why am I doing this? What is it for me? Do I like this? Do I enjoy beating?
Yeah, the violence, right? Yeah. Like the idea that he likes the violence of it, right? Because there's this scene where the doctor is like, you should have been a doctor. Like, your ability is like,
abilities are amazing.
If like, you wanted to help people, and that was truly your only goal, like, right, then why the violence? Like, is that really like, or is that a combination of what you think of the thing you want to do, but you, for some reason, you crave the violence part of it, like.
Well, I read another book, 6 issues. I finished. It came out this week, and I'll talk about it after you guys talk.
Yeah,
I don't want to take up the entire front of the show here, but it has to deal with that whole thing of like, learning violence early and what that effect has on people. And it was very good. And I'll talk about, but somebody else talk about something about it. Daredevil was good. I liked it. It was very good. After that, I have to say it kind of was like,
and then I won't read it.
No, you might like it. Yeah, you might like it. It was
Tom's
just
like, thanks for the warning.
Well, I'll just say Matt becomes a parole officer. And
okay. Oh no, we're ending the Hal Jordan career.
Yes. Is he selling insurance?
Is he a toy salesman, a truck driver? Which
straight up parole officer.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Yes. And has a thing for a slightly chubby married librarian, or no, not librarian, bookstore owner, and who then turns out to be something else.
Yeah, of course.
But you don't see.
Matt makes a bad relationship decision.
Yes, he does. But by the end of it, then the next it looks like the next arc I'm going to read again because I think it was better. But there's also this interesting storyline about a cop from Chicago who comes to Hell's Kitchen, and he has his own thing where like he's like the rest of the police force is like, listen, we don't give a shit about superheroes. Like the mayor kind of cares because the mayor is Wilson Fisk.
Yeah.
But the cops don't fucking care about Daredevil. We're not going to arrest Daredevil because he's helping us. So leave him alone. But this guy's sort of driven to find Daredevil, and you find out more about that as that sort of.
And he sort of has that in the first story. He sort of has the same thing where it's like he craves the violence.
Yes.
Yeah. Like the confrontation and the violence is important, and it's
and that's
key element of it.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I think Zdarsky took an interesting perspective on Daredevil, and while it's very familiar in a lot of ways, it's a unique kind of look at some of the
and great art in that first.
Yes, terrific. Yeah. Before we go further, I have to put up this. Philip Quick commented on YouTube that Tom's the shit. I love the show, you guys. Thank you, Philip. And Tom is the shit. We
really are just Tom's supporting act.
We're Tom's sidekicks.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna say you are the Andy Summers and I am the Stuart Copeland to his Sting.
Ugh. Well, I don't know if I want to be Sting.
No, you're Sting, asshole.
Oh no.
I don't even I don't know. I don't know if I want any part of that band, but at least it wasn't Phil Collins and whoever was in the Phil Collins.
The other dudes. I remember it's of Genesis.
Yeah.
Those two guys. It might be the Mechanics, whoever that guy was. He was.
All right. Enough. I've talked enough. Go ahead. Someone speak.
Chris, you go. You talk.
Have you read Young Hellboy?
I did.
It was delightful. Just I love the playfulness of the young Hellboy character, and this was written by Mike Mignola and Thomas Snagowski. I don't know if I butchered that too bad. With art by Craig Russo, and I loved it.
Is he a Russo brother?
I don't know. Different spelling on that, but this goes back to obviously the young Hellboy years, which it's 1947, so right after the war, and Hellboy gets to go with his adopted dad on basically a treasure hunt, and
now there's more to that title though. Young Hellboy something.
Oh, is it something? The Hidden Land.
I think that might be it. Yeah,
the Hidden Land. So yeah. But long story short, they end up getting marooned on like the King Kong Island, basically.
Monster Island, Skull Island.
Yeah, it's Skull Island. They're marooned on Skull Island, and there's dinosaurs and giant primates and all sorts of stuff. But you get it all with the running commentary of the adolescent Hellboy.
Yeah, absolutely. There's I don't know why is it so joyful to read?
This little demon guy running around.
It's so fun that he's just sort of this innocent yet still pretty powerful, little demon thing running around, and what he's going to grow into. That was another thing.
Russo's cartooning makes him so adorable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's masterful cartooning because it makes him adorable.
The character itself, the character design, obviously Mignola's character design of Hellboy from the beginning is one of the best character designs in the history of comics. And then when you take him down and make him a kid, it's like instantly adorable.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, there was like that scene in that first episode where the dude on the plane is going to, or the first issue, I should say.
Yeah. The guy from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, basically there's some like super religious guy that wants to kill Hellboy because he knows what he's going to turn into. And I'm sitting there going, well, he's kind of got a point. I mean, I'm not saying
it is the right fucking hand of doom.
Yeah, like it is. I mean, we all love Hellboy, but he is going to bring about, Ragnarok, right? Isn't that? I don't know. I'm looking at comics in different ways these days. I don't know why. It's different perspective.
I like the whole way the Hellboy universe is set up too. Is it lets stuff like Young Hellboy be fun because like the way everything's sort of detached from plot being like the main driving force of everything, of like what's the next thing that happens. Like the Hellboy books, from the fact that like from BPRD to Hellboy itself to all the ancillary things kind of jumps around in time, and it's not driven so much by like
Lobster
Johnson. What's the next thing that's going to happen, what's this going to happen. It kind of everything kind of gets its like own little space to like do its thing and be what it is, and it's not so like what you got to keep the momentum constantly moving forward, because in a sense everything's kind of what happens, like what's gonna happen in the present time, so it's kind of freeing in a way,
even the regular BPRD title or Hellboy title when it was coming out, it was like they took their time and crafted a good story, and just it was like, here's 4 issues or 6 issues. It was like 4 or 5, and it was like, this story has, well, with BPRD,
that title kind of pioneered that format. I mean, people called it the BPRD format, where it's like, you get a new, from the marketing standpoint, you got a new number 1 every story arc. They just told everything in limited series instead of making, because BPRD could have just been continuous.
But Hellboy wasn't. That was, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's why they did it, because Hellboy came out in arcs, but they weren't really continuous. Like, there were sometimes stuff that they
started to be
little, but not.
Once they started introducing more characters, then it became a little more linear. Are you
talking about Hellboy or BPRD?
Hellboy.
BPRD was definitely continuous, but I always felt Hellboy kind of jumped around a little bit more. But maybe it was just because it took.
I think also the way Hellboy was sort of set up is that sometimes you just get a single issue. Sometimes you get like, like things move differently in the Hellboy universe, in that you would know, like, oh yeah, there is a time where a Hellboy just hung out in Ireland for like
a couple years,
like the way that his history was sort of fleshed out, but it wasn't, like
that's what I mean. It was continuous, I guess, but like you never quite knew where it might, and half the story could be from 100 years ago. You know what I mean? Like it was was always
I always love the Hellboy stories that are like, Northern Scotland, 1990. It's like, oh, okay, so I know basically when this is, and this is going to be fun.
I mean, if you've ever looked at there's a couple of websites out there, and it might even be Dark Horse has it too, where there's the chronological reading order of the entire Hellboy universe.
Yeah.
So it's like it is. It's but it was released in a way too, where 1 month you'd get BPRD, the next month you might get Hellboy, the next month you might get Witchfinder, the next month you might get what I mean. So it's like you always had a Hellboy universe story, but you never quite knew what part of it you were in, which I always thought was pretty cool.
Yeah. And I love the larger universe because, I mean, would you throw stuff like Amazing Screw-On Head in there? Still maybe one of the greatest single issues ever.
Yeah. I mean, there was
Baltimore in the Hellboy universe. It's
sure. Yeah. Well, I think, and Hellboy was always that character too from early on, where, and I think it was those indie guys that just sort of were like, well, yeah, Hellboy might show up in someone else's an Allred comic, or or vice versa. You never quite knew. Oh, what's
the Goon or something weird like that?
That. There was this shared sort of.
Well, he started in a different comic. He started out, and first appearance was in Next Men.
Oh yeah.
It was John Byrne's Next Men.
John Byrne's Next Men.
Well, that I guess is where the Mignola Byrne relationship kind of started, and then the first Hellboy arc was it co-written by Byrne?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Byrne helped him write it, and stop. You don't need me. Just write.
Yeah.
Just write the stories. You're doing fine.
Yeah.
And it seemed to work out pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely still one of my favorite series, and it feels like there's some sort of Hellboy universe title on the shelves new every time I go into the comic shop. I mean, it's prolific output, and has been for a long time.
Well, I think it's one of those characters too that everybody wants to write a Hellboy story. Everybody's got a Hellboy story in them. So it's like he's been able, even though he's kind of curated it really well and kept it to a limited amount of people. There's a lot of people that have worked on various Hellboy stuff over the years. So that's kind of cool. Although
did you get the short story compilation of the Hellboy stuff? I think it was, I don't know if it was called Odd Jobs or something like that, but it was the prose book, and it was a ton of short stories. Like Greg Rucka writes a Hellboy story in there.
I didn't. Was it good?
Yeah, it's really good. And some of them are okay, and some of them are really, really good. Yeah, it's just anthologies of Hellboy stories. Yeah. So if you want some prose in your Hellboy,
sure, why not?
Let's see if I
wonder if it's an audiobook.
Too many words.
Okay.
Oh, great. Now it's an assignment.
I'm gonna fall asleep. God damn.
Oh, should we remind people about our trade talks?
Sure. Why did I pick that book? Anything else? Can I change my mind halfway through? I've read. I mean, it's gonna take me 8 months to get through this fucking book.
It's long.
It's long and it's not good.
There's a lot of not great stories in there.
The first two, they're fighting an interstellar, or they're searching for a murderer in an interstellar circus.
Yeah.
Are we going to piss people off if we call a mulligan on this one?
I don't think anyone cares. I don't think anyone's.
There's at least 2 people out there like, motherfuckers, I spent $50 on this hardcover. You are going to read it, and you are going to talk about it.
I will read. I really wish I started. So I decided I'm going to read. I haven't read Crisis on Infinite Earths in forever. So I wanted to read that, but I'm actually going to start with the Crisis on Multiple Earths, the JLA, JSA, Crisis on Earth 1 collection just hit Hoopla. So I was like,
"Ooh, I'm going to be a lot of words, my friend."
Yeah, I'm going to start there, and then I'm going to read Crisis on Infinite Earths. That was my plan. But because I love the JSA. Oh shit, here we go. Greg Porter said, OMG, I read that thing, you fuckers.
Yeah.
Okay, Greg. Okay. I will read it. I'm sorry.
We're going to talk about the circus. We're going to talk about the Interstellar Circus, my friend.
Put pressure on him, Greg. He will fall before the pressure of the audience.
I cannot do that to someone. No, I would not. All right, I will read it. It's going to be tough. I'm going to muscle through it.
Do it, my friend.
But so sometime in the next month.
Yeah. I started reading Crisis on Multiple Earths, and the first 2 pages of it are so ridiculous. And I'm like, Tom should really do a Tom versus on this because
so exhausting. Too many characters to fucking talk. Yeah,
was that one of the Perez things where he's like, I'm doing this project so I can draw every character?
No,
he's like what, 4 away or something, isn't he? Or did he actually do it? Did he manage to draw every character in the Marvel and DC universe?
I don't know.
I bet he could say he did, and no one would.
Yeah, who's gonna know? How are you gonna check that? Some lunatic like Greg could fucking check it. I bet.
You're like, well, excuse me, sir.
No, this is the
Greg. Thanks, Greg.
This is the 60s JLA where they just started to bring
JSA back.
Yeah, the JSA. They brought the JSA back out of retirement, and it's not Carmine Infantino. Who wrote it? God damn it!
Is it Gardner Fox wrote those ones?
I was going to say that time period, Gardner Fox.
But it's just like. The first 2 pages are basically the first one of the JLA going, okay, we're in our clubhouse and we're meeting. What are we going to do? Oh, this crime syndicate has challenged us. They're going to rob every bank in the city, and they said we can't stop them. Let's go.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It was amazing. And all I could think of was the scene in Watchmen where it's like that era, Silver Age era, and the fucking map on fire, and just like, you're a fucking asshole smoking a cigar kind of thing. And I'm like, this had to come from that. It had to be Alan Moore read this page and went, well, I have to put this in Watchmen. This is
yeah, with the rah. It's like, all right, chums, let's go beat the bad guys.
But then the next page is the exact same thing with the JSA doing, and like, I'm glad we're back from 12 years. Let's, there's only, 7, the bylaws of the JSA say they can only be 7 of us at a time. So, congratulations to Wonder Woman and
a lot of rules about who can get in and who can get out. And just like a lot of
the board meetings at these things are out of control.
Like we can't have members duplicate powers.
Yeah, right. You can't have that.
So that's why Hawk woman, let's be honest, should be she can't be in it because we already have a Hawk person.
Yeah, we got that.
We already got that.
No.
We already got a fast guy.
It was the 40s. I mean, they were very strict. Only one Hawk person, no black people. No, it was
all white.
Even the bad guys were white.
If there's a woman, she has to be dressed like basically a streetwalker.
That's the rule. Them's the rules, my friend. That's just how it is.
And if it was Gardner Fox, you could take any word balloon and put it on next to any character, and it would work.
No need to. Yeah, just
don't confuse yourself.
Ooh, yeah, those. Good luck, my friend. Some of those early ones
sounds thrilling.
I feel like I'm, now that I'm 50, I really need to have a solid understanding of the entire, DC multiverse. I really need
better. I mean, there's some fun JLA JSA crossovers. They eventually get like the Legion of Superheroes involved and like All-Star Squadron, and they get,
I was actually enjoying it. I have to say, I was enjoying it from the I was just like thinking of your Tom versus and sort of the way that you have fun with those old stories. For as ridiculous as they are, it's just, if you just kind of sit back and have fun with it, it's okay. Like I wasn't hating it. I was just looking at it like going, oh my God, Tom would
be careful not to read too many in a row, because I think that'll be your holy shit again. Like
another crime circus.
Yeah, split up into groups of 3. And like, oh God, here we go. I get the formula, dude.
Just throw them out there. Well, I guess it was for kids, right? They thought these.
Yeah, totally. Nobody read the old one. Who knows? Who the fuck cares?
Stupid kids. They're not going to understand. We have to explain it to them. They're dumb.
Dumb shit adults are going to sit around and be like,
50 years.
Hey, man. Book that costs 5 cents that should be thrown away immediately afterwards. But yeah, of course we'd use the same story like 4 times.
Gardner Fox was not thinking about posterity.
That was the directive. Is that it's going to be boys that are 10 to 13 that are going to read these, and it's a 3-year cycle. So every 3 years, if you want to reuse a story, knock yourself out.
Well, yeah, it makes sense. It's just we don't think of things that way because we're fucking shithead adults that have grown up with comic books being way too serious a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
This crime, why? This is silly. Snapper car? Why would the Justice League allow a local teenager to just hang out with them?
The first page with the JSA, it's like, too bad Snapper can't be here. He's in college. It's like, why do you feel the need to tell people where the fuck Snapper are?
Yeah.
An era.
Yeah, it was. It is.
That's why they take a long time to read.
Yeah. I'm enjoying that more than I am the Legion stuff so far. So
the Legion stuff is very talky.
Yes, it is. There's so many of them. There's so many
of them.
And they all have like one power, and they don't really.
But you know it by their name.
There are good stories in that book. I would say the first couple are not the greatest.
I would agree.
But yeah, once it gets rolling a little bit, I think.
All right, I should have picked something smaller. I should have picked.
A lot. There's a lot of stuff in that.
Well, the reality is, I waited till the last minute to pick something, and I was just like, Legion. This looks like a good collection. Oh,
no.
So here's a question I've not heard asked. So we go back and we read these older comics, and they're really kind of, the Bronze Age stuff, known for being really wordy. It's way more wordy than needed. I just read Serial #2. Did you guys read that this week? And I use the word read loosely because, oh my God, is it sparse? And it's fine. I like it. I know I've read stuff like this from Terry Moore before, but I set that down and I was just like, that was really sparse on actual content. Would you rather have something that is so sparse that you maybe don't feel like you got the most bang for your buck, or would you prefer like a Bronze Age comic that is overly written?
It really depends on the story for me. Like the Terry Moore thing, the first issue was like that too. I mean, it was pretty sparse.
Yeah. And that's kind of turned into his storytelling style. I love his stories. I love the atmosphere that he builds, but he does it in a very cinematic, atmospheric way that, he can have an entire page of someone walking into their house.
I think if he was a better, I don't want to say this because it sounds shitty, but if he was a better artist, I would enjoy it more. I could see artists, the book that I'm going to talk about next is Skulldigger and Skeleton Boy by I'm going
Jeff Lemire and Tansi Zonjic?
Toshi Zonjic. Tansi I read it. I read it phonetically how to say it, and I forgot. It's like he goes by Tozo, and he is one of my favorite artists in comics right now. I love his stuff, and if he did a book with almost no words in it, I wouldn't have a problem because his art is so interesting to me. But I don't find Terry Moore's art particularly interesting to look at, and so I think for me, it's a little tough when there's no words. I don't know if he's honestly a good enough artist to pull it off.
Yeah, I love his art, but I know what you're saying. It's for me, it's the art is definitely built to hold dialogue. It's not like like an Eric Canetti page where you can kind of lose yourself in it,
right?
Or Nathan Fox, who's super brushy and inky, and
I mean, I don't even think it's that so much as just like composition wise,
the storytelling, the visual storytelling.
Yeah, it's not. He's not a high level composition storyteller, comic storyteller. You know what I mean? Like Chris Samnee doesn't have super complicated art, but he's a master storyteller.
Yeah.
Like, exactly what he's trying to convey in a panel. There's no questioning what he's trying to, give you. I don't think Terry Moore really does that.
You had a couple months back, I was talking about like Jaime Hernandez and Darwin Cook or something, and Stan Sakai as examples of great cartoonists. And you said, well, what do you mean by cartoonist? And I couldn't really articulate it very well, but that's a huge part of it is their visual storytelling. It's, we talk, there are amazing illustrators out there that can't tell great stories. They're, the stuff looks beautiful, but it's really just not good as far as conveying the actual movement and direction and flow of the story. Great cartoonists do that, and I don't know if I would call Terry Moore a great cartoonist.
Yeah, or else, I mean, even like you look at like David Mack,
great example.
He's a wonderful storyteller too, in a different way. But you wouldn't ask him to draw a JSA story necessarily. You know what I mean? Or
a Punisher story.
Well, maybe a Punisher.
A big team book would be hard for him. Because of how airy and colorful. It's almost watercolor. It's right. Yeah, it's going to be hard to do, like the Avengers lineup with that and make them look badass.
But I don't think it depends on the story. And I think Terry Moore I think his art works for his stories.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't know if it works for his stories without dialogue. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, even we were talking about the first issue, you had said, and it's
really sparse. Yeah.
Well, no, you would remember there was the confusion of, I was confused by like,
oh yeah, it's like, wait, is this character
right? Because it's like not really, a quality where it's like easy to tell. I don't know if maybe that's unfair though. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I like
clearly defined characters.
Well, I enjoy very clear art. I mean, I remember back arguing with Scotty Young. He loves Humberto Ramos, and I'm like, Humberto Ramos is an incredible artist. I don't like reading comic books that he does because I can't follow them. There's too much going on. There's too you know what I mean? Like, I don't enjoy his storytelling because it's so complicated and everything is like this hyper jaggedy, unbelievably cartoonish energy.
Yeah,
but it's like
looks great, beautiful.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't personally think it tells great stories. But maybe that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own things they like, right?
No, but I mean, graphic storytelling, and whenever you read enough of it, when something flows correctly, and something that doesn't force the reader to read in a direction that they shouldn't, and every page needs to have flow to it.
Did you like the second issue?
I guess that's the funny thing is, we're sitting here kind of tearing
shitting all over.
Yeah, it's fine. It's kind of like one of your favorite bands coming out with a record that's pretty good. It's the steel wheels of comic books.
All right, that's not too bad. Steel wheels, there's
exactly hits. Steel wheels, perfectly fine record. Perfectly fine record.
All right. Tom, you got it. Did you read anything, or you?
No, just nothing worth talking about.
Nothing.
All I had to say was about Daredevil.
All right. Well, that was. Well, so going back to that, and something I read this week I read the last issue, came out this week, and it made me go back and read the first 5 issues all over again. And it's Skulldigger and Skeleton Boy, 1 through 6. This is Jeff Lemire and Tozo Tanchi Janjic. Really interesting story. Very much, it's in the Black Hammer world, but it's in the current. Well, that's not true.
Lemire's Hellboy universe.
Hellboy, yeah, Lemire's Hellboy universe. The Black Hammer universe. It's set in the I think it's set in the 90s, like the mid 90s, which is after the events of Black Hammer, where Anti-God has wiped all of those heroes away. So this is some years after that, I believe. So I don't know when that happened. I can't remember if they ever actually said when that happened, but I always thought it was probably like the 70s or something. I don't know. So this is like the 90s, I believe. And it's a kind of a Punisher, Punisher type character. Analog. Thank you. Yes, that was the word I was looking for. And it's a story very much about violence and the effects of violence and the cycle of violence from one person to the next. And it's done really well. The art is absolutely gorgeous. I'm such a huge fan of this guy, Tanchi Jazajic, or however you say his fucking name. Tojo. He's phenomenal, and it's a very clean line, very simple art, but it's incredibly well done storytelling. He does some really fascinating panel layouts and compositions and interesting techniques to convey energy or different types of movement and kind of things. And almost every issue there was like some page where it's just like, oh, that's really cool. But Lemire does a great job of sort of examining the idea of a vigilante, this Skulldigger character who is very violent and kills scum that he deems unworthy of continuing on the earth. And in the very beginning of the book, he is late to saving a young boy whose parents are murdered in the streets by this thug. He does kill the thug, and then the boy's taken away and has no other family, and put into a hospital. And Skulldigger decides to go get him. And he does, and he gets him, and sort of in a very Batman way, he trains him to be his sidekick, Skeleton Boy. And the kid is traumatized from the death of his parents, witnessing his parents being killed, and wants revenge, and follows this person that he sees as a hero, and wants to be like him, and kind of very common, the common sidekick kind of story. But then it changes, and you start to find out more about Skulldigger and what his history was like. And then there's another character in the book called the Crimson Fist, who is a guy, Tex something or another, who he's running for mayor of Spiral City while this is happening. And you find out he was a superhero at one point, and there's a connection between him and Skulldigger. And then there's the bad guy, Grim Jim, who starts off the book in prison. Yes, Grim Jim, and ends up breaking out and getting involved in. But there's another character in the book is a cop, this female police officer detective who is a little obsessed with Skulldigger. Like we were talking about the cop in Daredevil. She has this thing in her driving her to find and capture Skulldigger, because she thinks he's a violent, and he is. He's a criminal. He's just, in her words, he's just as bad as the guys he kills. He's a murderer. It doesn't matter that he's killing people that break the law. He's still a murderer. And so the whole book is sort of a look at that, and from the different perspectives and what drives each of these characters. And it doesn't go where you maybe think it is going initially. Jeff Lemire obviously isn't gonna, he doesn't write just a great comic book. But it was really interesting. It was really an interesting look at like, like I was saying, like we look at these characters and grew up with them, reading them, seeing them fight crime and be vigilantes. But, it's like, at what point is it, it's okay as long as they don't kill someone. If they put someone in a hospital, it's okay. If they do kill someone, then it's bad. Why do the police support this? Why, it's like, why does everybody sort of turn the other way? And then, like I said, this cycle of violence that they've all sort of dealt with, and it kind of deals with it. And it's not, interestingly enough, it is not a very serious book. I mean, it sounds like I'm making it sound much more serious than it is. It's much lighter than that. It's much airier than that. And there's a lot of action, and it's in a lot of ways, it's very much a, regular sort of, Punisher, Batman-esque kind of comic book.
Okay.
But, Lemire taking a look at, the
Lemire lens,
the Lemire lens. Yes. That's a
signature Lemire lens.
Yeah. Yeah. There's even like, I keep saying Punisher because the character looks, he's got skulls on everything, and he has this. That's the fucked up thing. He's a fucking cool looking character. It's like the costume is cool, and the kid's costume is cool, and he whips around this like steel skull on a chain and bashes people's heads with, and it's like, I mean, like he's fucking cool looking, but there's that other side of that, and Lemire,
it's like Crossbones is a horrible person, fictional person, cool fucking character design.
Yeah. Still pissed that they didn't use that design in the movies, but but what was what was I saying? I forgot now.
But yeah, it's a Punisher analog.
Oh, but there's I think it's set in the 90s and before that, and like there's a couple of nods to Dark Knight, and there's like his headquarters is on the corner of Miller and Jansen, and then there's a very Dark Knight Returns scene when sort of when Skulldigger and Skeleton Boy first sort of jump into the night, in that
Batman kind of, and Robin.
So it's obviously, I think there's he's talking about Batman and Robin in this as well to some degree, but it's not heavy handed. It's not like trying to teach any lessons or anything. It's just sort of looking at it from a little bit of a different, skewed lens, and just going, it's maybe not the best thing for a dude who's life has been so fucked up that he goes out at night and beats people to death with a skull on a chain.
It's maybe normal. It's pretty normal behavior, Sal.
Yeah. Maybe not the best thing for him to raise a child.
Yeah,
but he doesn't. But he doesn't. I mean, the thing that he points out, it's like, it's not. You feel sad for the character because it's not like his fault, because that's all he's known. You know, he grew up with trauma and tragedy, and so it's like, it's just the cycle, you know. And it's like that. You look, once again, you can't blame Batman because he's Bruce Wayne and he's fucked up, and he's fucked up because he saw his parents murdered in front of him, and he's never gotten past that. But in a Batman comic, it's, you know, we don't deal with that so much. This deals with a little bit more. Yeah, but really good. It's really good comic, and like I said, art wise, it's absolutely gorgeous. So there you go.
Nice.
Did I go over the limit? Did I take us to the end of the show?
You took it. Well, it depends. Do we have any emails?
We don't have any emails.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a couple of patrons that I need to thank.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's what we really care about.
It's what we really. Let's see. Who do we have here? We have some new patrons. There's a bunch of them that I haven't read shout outs for, so I'm gonna just run through them all right now. We got well, maybe I did I say Jennifer Ara? I thought I said her before. Matthew Jerns, Carlin Gilroy, Derek Burke, Charlie Oliver, Brian Reno, Greg Porter, Joshua Smith, Theodore Phillips, and Philip Quick. Two of these guys on the comment.
You gotta read the book.
Nice.
If he's a patron and he read it, you
gotta do it. So thank you to our patrons. Yes. The way you get that little shout out on the show, plus access to a bunch of other stuff, if you like to hear us yammer, is by going to patreon.com/aroundcomics. For I think we have a few price tiers. I signed up for the $5 one, and
why did you sign up?
So I can have access to stuff. I want to hear Tom versus the Freedom Fighters, which is a Patreon exclusive. Sometimes I like my early access to Future Stacks, which Sal does every week, telling us what comics we should and maybe
do we need to shout out Chris? Give Chris a shout out.
Give Chris. Oh yeah, I don't think we ever. I did actually. I called him Chris N.
Chris
the first time, so he did get a shout out on the on the show. He did.
Oh, nice.
You did not know it, but you did get it. Yes.
Nice. Outstanding. So there's all that extra content. I'm working on a couple interviews for 30 Minutes With, and there is the weekly show that Sal and I. It's Sal on my bonding time. Every week we get to talk about WandaVision on ACTV. WandaVision After Hours.
We have not bonded enough in the last 15 to 18 years, however long.
No, we needed another show to do together. So.
It is fun. It is fun. And we got a request. We did get a request on Twitter as someone asking for us to do Superman and Lois. Yeah. So
I think the plan is that we're going to finish up WandaVision this week. This is the last episode. And then we have a week off between WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, correct?
I believe so, at least a week. I think
at least so. We'll look at release date. I think we're going to do some Superman and Lois in between there.
That'd be cool. I enjoyed the first episode immensely, at least the first 8 minutes or so. I do want to thank. There was a couple of people on Twitter that were tweeting about us late the other night, and I want to thank Ryan A. Winraw. He wrote a song evidently about Around Comics like 10 years ago, and I had never heard it. He said, Chris, you played it on the show.
Put it in it. Yeah, back when I was editing shows.
I must not have listened that long into that. I don't know what episode it was, but
yeah. Is it gonna be our outro music?
I think I want to. Well, he was supposed to send me a Dropbox link for a good quality version of it, but yeah, I think I want to use it as our outro music from now on. It was sort of a I think. Well, I guess
a catchy little ditty.
I could play it right now here off of. Let's see. Tell me, just not. Can you guys hear this? Everywhere and around. Everywhere and around. Everywhere and around. Everywhere and around. Like, I probably would have just used that as our intro music if I would have heard that 10 years ago. Probably just been like, well, there it is. That's our intro music.
Done.
Someone did it.
Yeah. Done. But yeah, I think we should use that as our closing. So I like it. I've been singing for like the last 2 days. And then someone in response to him, I should say, let me find it so I don't fucking butcher it. Oh, God damn it. Where is it? Wow, a lot of people have liked it. More people have liked his post on his than like any of our posts on Twitter. He said, well,
his has real talent.
This is true. You're right about that. Paul Patane on Twitter. He said, Around Comics and Comic Geek Speak were revolutionary for early comics podcasting. I'm glad Around Comics eventually came back after the long hiatus. And I just thought that was super nice of him to say.
You know what that means?
No.
We're old.
We're classics now.
We're old.
Classic, baby. Reboot.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's right. We are.
They bring in the new younger Tom.
You are the Barry Allen. They got to bring in Wally West.
Why are you a baby and a girl?
And they're bringing in new characters, refreshed versions of Around Comics.
They'll definitely turn me into a female.
Yeah, I'll have hair again.
Well, I'll be thinner.
That's all right. That's okay. Whatever. But people seem to be enjoying our return, so that's cool.
I am.
I do want to say to people before we go, so every week I have been slowly uploading the old episodes to iTunes and all the podcast places out there, because when we left, that all came down, and when we came back, like it was a lot of work. So I've been slowly trying to get them up there, and I've done a better job in the last couple of weeks of doing it. But usually, like Throwback Thursday kind of thing, I upload a couple of episodes. So I think we're at like 231.
You're closing the gap.
Yeah, we got about 230 left to go. Somewhere, I have about 230 episodes.
Yeah, there's like 3 episodes I care about out of the entire run. So
wow, damn,
wow, 3.
Really 3? Just 3?
Yeah, just like 3.
Are we on any of them?
John
Byrne
interview.
John Byrne
interview. Yeah, number 1.
Greg Rock interview.
No. Gene Colan interview.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And then when Tom and I got to talk to Roy Thomas, that was pretty special.
That's good.
Yeah,
that was the James Robinson episode. That was
the James Robinson episode. I still have.
Oh no! What are you gonna show us?
A whiskey bottle.
I've seen this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the James Robinson signed.
You know, the value went up on that. He's clean now. He's
yeah.
It's a rarity.
He wasn't that night.
No.
None of us were.
No.
That's good.
So,
all right. We sound like we are
He assaulted me at one point.
Did he?
He punched me, yeah. He punched me.
Yeah, I think you deserved it.
Well, regardless, I mean, you know,
pretty sure you deserved whatever it was. You deserved it.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true at all. I don't think
yeah, we did end up with Korean karaoke that night. I think.
We did. Yeah, that's when he punched me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so you will do that. All right. So enough walking down memory lane. Yeah. Thank everyone for being patrons and listening to the show, and send us some emails, requests. We always like that stuff. And yeah, let's wrap this one up. Are we done? Let's get out of here.
Wrap it up.
All right. We'll be back with other Patreon exclusive stuff throughout the week. And then next Tuesday, 8 o'clock Central Standard Time, we'll have our regular live streaming show, which you're watching or listening to now. In between time. No,
Wait.
in the meantime.
In between time.
There we go. Sorry.
We'll be everywhere in
and around comics.
And around.
In and around. In and around.
Everywhere in and around. Everywhere in and around.
Oh yeah, this is staying.
Everywhere in and around. Comics.